The next tutorial I'm going to show you is branch management within Android Studio. So how to manage commits you've done, how to push and pull, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to open the project. Okay, so there's a few things going on here. So on the left, you've got all the files in your project. Down here is your version control window, which I'll explain in a minute. And up here is your VCS. This is your basically your way to commit changes and update files. So the two main ones you'll use here is commit, which will commit any changes you've made either to your local repository, or if you commit and push them, which I'll show you, which will push them also to Bitbucket. An update project will pull any recent changes made in the repository online and bring them into your local application storage. Okay, so you've also got down here, this is your current branch. So we're currently on the master branch. So you've got a few things visible. You've got the branches that you have a copy of locally and all the branches that exist in the remote. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate, I'm going to create a branch in the Bitbucket repository. I'm going to update the file status and I'm going to show you what it looks like down here. So I'm going to go create branch from here. I'm going to call it second branch. I'm now going to do VCS update project. All files up to date because no changes have been made. I can now see there's a branch I don't have. So if I click on this, I can click check out. That will bring a copy of that branch locally, which I can work on it from there. Okay, so version control. So there's a few things that's going on here. As you make changes, they'll appear in the change list here. And the color of them depends on what's happened. So if I go and add a new file, I'm just going to call it test. And I'm going to say, do I want to add it to Git? Yes. Okay. So any new files, so anything new that you've created that's not in GitHub or in Bitbucket even already is in green. If I add a file and I say, do I want to add it to Git? And I say cancel, it'll still be there, but it's in red. To add it manually, you do Git and add, and that will change from red to green. If you go ahead and you make a change to an existing file, it will be in blue. Finally, if you delete a file, so if I delete this, for example, it will turn gray. Now I want to keep that file, so I'm going to just undo that. And then it will ask, do I want to re-add it? So I go yes, and it disappears from there. So these are the current changes that I've made locally. If you click log here, this will show you the log of all changes that have been made. And you can do a few things here. So you can look at the different branches and so on. This will show you in its current status all changes made across all branches. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to see the differences that you've made. So if I right click, say this one, and I go show diff, it'll just show your version because it's a brand new file. If I go to this one and I do show diff, on the left is the code before I've made a change, and on the right is the change that you've made. Now, if you decide that you're not happy with the changes you've made, there's no need to undo them manually. You can select the file in the change list, you can right click, and you can select Rollback. When that comes up, you can pick any of the changes and then just hit Rollback. So I'm just going to make this change back to what it was. So Rollback, and it's back to how it was before. Okay, I've now decided I want to push these two new files to my local repository. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do VCS commit. I will now pick the files I want to commit locally. So I can either do all of them, or I can say just a couple. So what I'm going to do for this exercise, I'm going to just commit this one. I'm going to write a message, which is commit test XML. Now, you have a few options here. You can either just commit, which will commit it to your local version of the project, but not online, or you can do commit and push. I'm just going to commit it locally. It may come up after doing a code analysis saying you've got some warnings. In this instance, this warning is just a string error, so it's not an actual problem to consider, but let's have a look at it anyway. So we'll go review. This is just telling me actually that the XML tag is an empty body, so that's fine for this one. So I'll go back to VCS commit, select just that file and say commit, and commit the change. If I go back to log, I can see the changes here. However, this is only local. So if I do origin second branch, it's only showing me what's online. Okay, so I'm going to go back to local second branch, and that's the difference. These are all the local changes I've made, but looking at what's online, it shows me what's only been committed and pushed. So we're going to do that now. We're going to actually push the changes we've made. So I'm going to do VCS commit. This is the only other file that I haven't already committed to my local repository. So I'm going to call that commit test2, and I'm now going to do commit and push. I'm going to ignore this error because I've looked at it before, and this will show you all the commits that you're about to push. So I'm going to say push. If I go back to my repository, I can see them all here. And if I go back to origin second branch, the changes are there. So that's a bit of a tutorial on how to push changes and just use version control correctly. The other thing I'm going to show you very briefly in another video is how to manage merge conflicts. So I'll cover that in a future video.